What's up, everyone, and welcome to our first live stream. So the live stream is just going to be really relaxed. Tom and I are going to be sitting here for an hour or so, just answering questions, covering the market. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate all of you. So thank you so much. But, Tom, what's going on with Peloton? I know it had that bad news over the weekend, and the stock's tanking a little bit in pre-market.
Yeah, it had that terrible news actually where those people got injured using their equipment, and that's a pretty bad thing for the stock. And we can see it was down to 114 in after hours Friday, and it ended up hitting 107 this morning. So we're definitely going to be watching this one. It might pop back up with how much it fell down, but with the bad news, I would kind of expect it to keep running off when the market opens. But I think that this is going to be the hot stock to watch today, and then obviously Dogecoin is going to be one of the big ones to watch as well.
For sure. Well, thank you again. I see everyone commenting in the live chat. Thank you guys so much for joining. We really appreciate it. Like I said, it's our first stream, so there might be a little technical errors here and there, but we really do appreciate all of you joining. But back to Peloton, like you said, are there any major support levels you're looking at? I see that there's a little bit of support at 107, and I think there's even a couple levels right around 102.
Yeah, 107 looks great. If I go out to a further chart, like the 180-day 15-minute, let's go out and look at 102. Yeah, 102 is definitely another good one in my opinion too. It looks like a great one. Let me go ahead and actually chart those up here. But as the market gets closer to open, it looks like we're starting to post some green candles on Peloton. But I do love how it actually gapped below the 1,000 SMA as well, and it broke that 112 support that it had for a while too. So it's just looking pretty bearish, I think. Hopefully when it opens, we can see some red start to come into it, because right now it looks like it's starting to get a little bit of green going.
For sure. And then we have JW saying the Tesla, the Tesla car killed 2 people. So that's not a good sign. I didn't read too much into that article yet, but it's definitely some important news to keep your eye on. Tesla's coming right down to that $717 support. It's definitely not looking the best in pre-market. I know the NASDAQ and the S&P are both down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely some big news right there. And Tom, the S&P 500, the market's finally pulling back a little bit. I mean, it seemed like every day last week, new highs, new highs, new highs. So we're finally starting to see just a little bit of a pullback.
Yeah, for sure. And now the market finally opened, and we're seeing the SPY actually go green, which is kind of good. But we're going to see some pretty volatile candles. Let's go check out Peloton. Let's see. Peloton did post red off of open. It's heading down towards 107 right now. So expect Peloton to possibly keep moving to the downside. It failed to break above the 100 SMA in pre-market, so that's a pretty bearish signal in my opinion as well. So definitely watch for this. It looks like it might break 107, and like you said, Mike, if it breaks that, definitely watch out for the 102 level, because there's definitely going to be some movement, I think, out of this one.
Yeah, now we have Mason asking about Apple. What do you think over there?
Yeah, let's go check out Apple today. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's posting a nice green candle. But if we go out a little bit further, Apple's getting a pretty close to support, I think. It looks like it has a good support right around 133 to 133.25. I really like that level, and it looks like we're getting pretty close to that. We are green this morning there, which is a good thing to see. I wonder if the QQQ is green as well. Let's go check that out. Yes, the QQQ is starting to go green today also, which is a good sign. So hopefully Apple can start upticking today. I think it looks like that they're going to start to actually break out of this little, looked like they were flat for a few days between a little range here, and it looks like they might break out above 135 finally.
Well, look at Apple. It's just exploding right now. It's a huge candle for open. I mean, look at that. Yeah, it's kind of popping right now. Definitely keep your eyes on it. It's definitely popping. Looks like it's just breaking over 134 right now. The next major resistance levels, I guess you could say 134.50, and then there's a lot of chop right around 135. But it's definitely a pretty big candle. Let me check on Peloton again to see how that's doing. Oh, that actually completely reversed. So it looks like it's
Yeah, there we go.
Up.
It hit that 108 level and came right up.
Yeah. We have B saying, is it time to cut loss on Mara? So I'm not sure what price you got in at, but let's take a look at it. Oh, yeah, it's definitely not looking too good. Down around 8%. That's definitely not a good sign. I'm not sure what price you're in at, or what your situation is. Like, is this like a short-term trade, a long-term investment? Let us know. But it is coming down to that 35 support, which can be good, but you just got to be careful with the way Bitcoin's moving. It's definitely not looking too good. Honestly, it kind of looks pretty good for like a cash secured put right now. I might do that later today.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm actually going to go to TradingView really quick and check out Dogecoin here. Let's see what that's looking like today. Doge USD. It's
Yeah.
going to be, I think it's going to be moving pretty well, don't you think?
Oh wow, look at it. There we go.
Yeah, let's see a 15-minute chart. Wow, yeah, it did actually start to pop back up towards those highs again, but this morning it started to actually dip back down. So that's pretty interesting. Very volatile out of Dogecoin. I didn't expect this type of volatility, but man, it is nice to see it start to come back up. I know a lot of people were really hoping to see it come up, and it did have that weekend dip, which was kind of disheartening, but it's good to see it coming back.
Well, Tom, wait, go back to Thinkorswim right now. Look at DraftKings. It actually has a huge candle right at open. Trying to find the news right now. I'm not seeing any news on Thinkorswim, but it's definitely running right now. It's already up 1%, but it's definitely moving.
Yeah, definitely. And it's actually getting close to that 1,000 SMA and a pretty good resistance here around 58.80. So we'll see if we can pass above that. It looks like that it's posting a red candle off of that level. So we'll have to see if it can break that. And if it does, definitely watch for another move today, but it might happen a little later on.
Oh, and then another one to look out for is Netflix. It's actually running a lot, and the market's only been open for like 4 minutes. Looks like we might see a pre-earnings run up here. Don't forget, we do have earnings. What is it, on April 20th? So that's tomorrow. So looks like it can definitely be forming like that pre-earnings run up pattern. I do have resistance drawn right at 555. So watch out for that.
Yeah, there's definitely resistance right there at 555. I love that level. It looks like we're getting really close. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens today. Oh, we actually just broke above it, hitting 555.62. We can really see this one running. Let me go back to the 1 minute chart here. Yeah, it's really running above that 555 level, Mike. It looks like Netflix might be the stock to trade today, especially with some of these options going forward. Hopefully it can keep up this momentum. And it looks like it just might be a good runner. But as we see, sometimes Netflix pulls up and then has a little bit of a retest back down. So definitely watch out for that.
Sounds good. And then, guys, let us know what you're looking at. What are you guys trading? What are some of your favorite stocks for today? Thank you guys so much for joining us. But, let us know what you want to cover. If you guys are watching Peloton or Apple or, Microsoft or whatever, let us know and we'll cover that. So it looks like, how's the S&P 500 doing right now? I know that it was open. Oh, yeah, I guess it's trying to come up a little bit. It's kind of flat.
Yeah, it's kind of flat. The SPY itself actually just hit that 1,000 SMA. It's kind of recoiling between the 1,000 SMA and the 500 EMA here. I really like it. It looks like a pretty bullish setup to me. I don't think it's just gonna like tank and go down out of nowhere, especially with Apple and a lot of these tech stocks being up. Hopefully this can go up. How's Tesla doing though? Is it still going down? Because okay, good. It's kind of flat. I think as long as Tesla can kind of hold its levels, I think a lot of investors will kind of keep the S&P 500 up there. But I think if Tesla keeps going down, it might pull the market down. Unfortunately, we do see that happen a lot of times with Tesla.
Yeah, I mean it's a huge company in terms of market cap, so it definitely has a pretty big influence on the S&P. I know that, and then I was just like looking at like some of these EV stocks because some of them were just so I don't know, they ran up so much over the past year, and like NEO especially, like it's really starting to pull back, and I really like it for cash secured puts. I've been doing like a ton of research with cash secured puts lately, and NEO has some of the best premiums for like the price. So, if we do see it continue to fall, I'll definitely, maybe even just buy shares outright or sell some at the money puts. But either way, I think it's looking pretty decent for like a long-term investment. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I think it doesn't hurt to get, maybe just a little bit in the portfolio. It's coming right back down to that 35 support level. Intraday, what are they doing? Are they trying to run up? Yeah, oh yeah, they actually are trying to test pre-market highs.
Yeah, it looks like they're actually going to break above the high right before open. The pre-market high is all the way up there at 37.40, so we do have about 50 cents to go. Hopefully we can keep this going. I think that it looks like that this stock is going to keep running up here. I like the break above all the SMAs. I actually love how at open it came right back down, touched the 100 SMA, and started to go back up. I think that's a pretty bullish sign, and definitely intraday it's starting to run, so definitely watch out for this. I think if it breaks above this level, which is pretty defined at 36.86, then I think that we'll see another run back to the upside here.
Sounds good. So we have a bunch of people asking about GSX. So this was one of the plays from the new bot, and it was more of it was a dip buy. So if we look at it, GSX is down about 0.67% today, and it actually looks pretty good for a dip buy. This was one of those stocks that was what was it? It was like when Viacom got when the big firm got margin called. This was one of those stocks. And I actually saw, I want to say it was like a couple $1 million call order on, what was it, Friday, I think. So the bot called it out, and then I saw like a couple $1 million flowing into the calls. It looks pretty good in my opinion for a bounce back up. We can see that it is trying to run right now in pre-market. It has resistance right around 26. It is good to see that, it's fighting, it's trying to get back up. Do you have any thoughts on this one? Like I said, I did see a pretty large call order come in on Friday for at least a couple million.
Yeah, for sure. And my main thing here is that whenever I'm looking here at the 1,000 SMA, I'm looking at this and the stock actually moved above it. And now it just kind of like retested it this morning. And now we're seeing pretty good green to the upside off of that SMA. And we've seen that in the past right here as well. And also right here whenever we passed above it. So hopefully if we can hold this good support here also around 24.75, I think that we're going to see a pretty good move to the upside out of GSX. But I will say, though, I wanted to try to retest $26 if we can. I think that'll be the best thing. It looks like there's a pretty good resistance up there at 26. So definitely intraday, watch out for that. I think that's, yeah, in pre-market, it opened pretty close to 26. So I would definitely say 26. But I do like the movement today. I think that we will retest that level, and I do like it.
Yeah, I mean, it actually just went red to green. So it actually looks pretty good. I think that 26 is the main resistance level. If we break through that, it should be pretty good. And
wow, there we go. That's
yeah,
a big pop actually on the
yeah.
1 minute. It just ran to like 20 cents there.
There we go. Perfect. So, yeah, it is one of those volatile stocks. So, just be careful. It's pretty volatile. Like we might see this thing retest $35 this week, and that's not unreasonable to say just because the implied volatility is 200%. So it is extremely volatile, which can be a really good thing, but also a really bad thing. With the next question, we have Shane asking about JMIA puts. So let's take a look at it. It looks like it's coming right down to that support at $30. It looks like it's going to be a pretty strong support. So if it breaks below that, I like the setup for puts. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is actually a pretty crazy setup today, actually. It looks like it broke below $32 this morning, and then it ran pretty good, but now it's starting to actually come back up a little bit. Like you said, it looks like just almost like a dead cat bounce almost to me. It looks like it's just popping up a little bit, and then we might see another big move to the downside, in my opinion. Just given what the setup looks like. Like you said, if it breaks below 30.76, then I think it'll be a pretty good play. But as of right now, I don't think I'd grab puts on it just because of how it popped back up here. I would just be pretty worried about the movement on it, I think.
Gotcha. And then we have Jerry asking about CRWD. So let's take a look at this one. It looks pretty decent. Looks like there is a little bit of resistance right at like 220. I'm not sure if you're looking at this for a day trade or a swing trade. Let's take a look at it intraday real quick. It looks pretty good for like a day trade, actually. Yeah, I mean, if anything, I would day trade it. I'm not a huge fan of this setup overall, but it also depends on what type of setup you're looking for, like day trade, swing trade, long-term investment, like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it definitely depends on how you want to trade it. Honestly, on an intraday level, it looks pretty good to me. On the daily level, I still think it looks pretty good. It looks like it's starting to break out today. It broke out above this like 218, 220 level, and I really like that. I think it might run up back up to like 227, maybe 225. So watch out for that. I think that we might see a pretty good move. It, like you said, it's running pretty well today, and I would kind of expect that to happen today if we were going to see it happen. So watch out for it. It looks like we're seeing another green candle on the 1 minute. It's coming back up, retesting 222.30. So I'm definitely watching it right now. If it does break 222.30, I think that would be a pretty good spot to possibly start an entering position and maybe go up to 225. But keep in mind that with it running this much, you have to be careful of quick pullbacks like this. It just pulled back from 222.30 all the way back to 220. So you got to keep in mind that those little pullbacks might happen if you do trade that breakout.
Gotcha. And then Tom, go back to GSX real quick. It looks like it's about to break out.
Yeah, for sure. There we go. It's about to break above that 1 minute high at 26.08. Yesterday, let's see, or on Friday, I should say. Oh, there we go, Mike. There we go. It's running on the 1 minute. Just broke above the high of Friday, running all the way up to 26.40 with a pretty good move. I actually really like this. Pretty quick move out of it though. So hopefully you guys held those. It was doing pretty good on Friday. Just had a small pullback. I really like that move off the 1,000 SMA and the way it held that. We're running up to 26.75. I have a trend line up here around $27. So possibly watch for like 27 to 27 to 27.39 from the high over here to possibly be a good resistance.
Yeah, it's actually really running. Look at this. It's just exploding. Wow. Yeah, this actually looks really good. Like even for like a couple days, like hold actually, like, you know, this stock really got beaten down over the past month, you can say, and I can definitely see a pullback or a pull up, you can say, to like $35 maybe. Like I said, I know I said this a couple times already, but I saw someone put a couple $1 million into calls on Friday. So I really wouldn't be surprised if we do see it run up. It was just down. It was just right on the day a couple minutes ago, and now it's up over 4%. So I think it has a ton of potential.
Yeah, for sure. And you can see that this stock in the past, it has these trends where it really gaps down and then has a lot of these, it has a lot of these continued moves to the downside, kind of like right here. And then you see a few days of huge green candles. And I think that that's like where we're at right now. We just saw a humongous gap down and we saw the continuation with that small move down to like shake out the people, I think, who initially bought, at the bottom. And then now I think we're going to start to see a nice little rise back up. Like you said, I think it's a pretty good trade. I really like how I had that big gap down. It just has a lot of momentum here at the bottom. And it's done this in the past too, which I really like. And it's just one of those things that once it happens and it's done that in the past, it seems like that some of these stocks, they have these big gap downs. They just have these weird patterns to them like this.
Gotcha. So the next resistance should be right around $27. You could see like $27.40. And there is a good amount of resistance overhead, which isn't a good sign, but it is a dip buy. So that's kind of how dip buys work. But I'll definitely have my eye on it for like the rest of the day for sure. With the next question, we have Nando asking about Fastly. So let's take a look at it. Fastly looks pretty good actually. It's just been channeling for like the past 6 months almost. Back and forth between like you could say like $70 and like $120. I think if you're like looking to long-term hold this, I think it can be good. It's not really moving too much intraday right now. I mean, it's up around 1.5%, which is good to see. But do you see any like major levels or anything on this one?
I'm actually liking how in intraday today on the 1 minute, it popped above the 1,000. It's looking pretty good above that actually today, but we are getting close to some resistances. I see a pretty good one here at 71.50. I think that might be pretty hard to pass above. It hit it like 3 times over the past couple days and then fell. So definitely watch out. And it is posting a pretty big red candle right now on the 1 minute. So if we start to come back down and we break back below $70.60, we might start to see a pretty big move, I think, back to the downside, maybe towards like $70. But if we can hold here, I think we might break back to the upside, but we have to break 71.50. I just think that's a pretty good level. It looks like I said, we've hit it a few times over the past few days, and this stock, it's a pretty volatile stock in its own. So if it does break that, it could move pretty good. I have a pretty good resistance as well, up at $75. But I will say I do like how it's starting to consolidate here on the 15-minute chart as well. It kind of was going up. Now it's just coming back down, consolidating on these SMAs and on supports. And now it's starting to head back to the upside, which I really like. And if we see it, like I said, if we see a move back to the upside, we might see a move above 72, possibly back up to 73 or even 74. So I really like this stock, actually, given how volatile it is.
Good stuff. Then with the next question, we have Raphael asking about Roblox. So, what do we think about this one? It's up around 2% on the day. It looks like they have resistance right around $80, and it's getting pretty close to that. The next resistance is around 82.50, and then the ultimate high, you can say all-time high, is right around $92. So it is creeping up there to $80. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I really like it actually. It's starting to creep up. I love it how it's bouncing off this support here around 75.25 or just around 75, you could say. It's hit off of like both of those levels quite a few times here, and it's held that. And I like how it held that today. If it breaks, I think it definitely, if it breaks above pre-market high of this morning around 78.40, 78.37, then I think we're going to see a pretty good move back up to $80, like you said.
All right,
And
and
that
then
could
we
be a pretty
have
good day trade, I think. If
yeah,
we look at the
yeah.
1 minute, it'll just be a pretty good move.
For sure. And then we have Jerry asking about Apple. So this one's actually popping a little bit today. It had a nice run up for the past, what is that, 20 minutes or so. So looks like it's coming right at resistance, right under 135.50. It's pulling back a little bit right now. This might be a good continuation play for the rest of the day. Apple, unlike a lot of other tech stocks, did not break highs recently. Like if we go to like Microsoft or Nvidia or Amazon, they all like broke high, or not Amazon, but a lot of tech stocks in general broke highs recently. Apple is one of those that kind of was like lagging a little bit. So I'd just be curious to see how Apple performs over the next month. You know, depending on the market, it's definitely running.
Yeah, I think it looks like it's going to retest this like 138 to 140 support. So I think Apple's honestly a pretty safe trade here. I'm not saying to just hop in right now. We are breaking above these resistances, which is great. Let's see, the pre-market resistance a few days ago was right around 135.30. So we hit 135.33 just now, and we're going down. But I think it looks like we're going to break up above that. And whenever we do, that's the time to buy. And I think whenever it breaks out, we might have a pretty safe trade here up above 136 to 136.50. So definitely watch out for that. If you guys are trading calls today, I think Apple might be one of the safer trades here, especially back up to these resistances around like 138, 139. I really like those levels, Mike. And I know that you really like Apple, and Apple's one of those stocks that just continuously seems like it just posts green day after green day after green day. So, and I think that we can just see a good run here and break out of the channel.
Sounds good. With the next question, we have Mason asking about DFEN. So this is the 3x leveraged aerospace and defense bull ETF. So I think Mason was trading this one a while back, or was that Gush, Tom?
Yeah, it was Mason. He was actually trading this a while back, or at least he was talking about it. But I personally was trading Boeing and Lockheed Martin, which make up a lot of this ETF. But I will say that it's a pretty good ETF in its own. It's fallen a lot this year, so don't look at it too bullishly, I guess. It is a 3x leverage, and we had a lot of stocks fall during that COVID, like whenever COVID was really bad during March and February. And that's the main thing, is it made it fall all the way to $5. So don't think that this is just going to explode back up to 72 because it's leveraged. So it will take some time to get back to 72, or we're just going to have to see a huge pop out of some of these stocks. And we have actually been seeing good moves lately out of like Lockheed Martin, which has been going up, trying to go back up to $400, and then Boeing even, which has been kind of going up, back up to 280. But it does look like Boeing now is starting to come back down, retesting the support here at around 245. But we'll have to see how these stocks move over the next couple months. It looks like DFEN might take a little bit of a downturn here and possibly go back to the downside. So if it does, I personally think I'd rather get an ETF that's not leveraged for something like this, or just kind of make up your own and get a few shares of Lockheed Martin, a few shares of Boeing, a few shares of Northrop Grumman, and a few shares of just a few other ones.
Sounds good. So we actually have some stocks moving a lot a lot right now. We have Disney running. We have NIO running. NIO's already up about 3%. It's getting very close to that high in pre-market, so watch out for that. What's the next one? We have BBBY. Tilray's running a little bit, so definitely have your eyes on that. Tilray's actually breaking out. We have GSX pulling back to that 26 support. So yeah, I mean, we have a good amount of volatility this morning, which is, both good and bad, but NIL looks like it definitely has potential right now, especially if we break that pre-market high. What are some of your favorite stocks for today, Tom? I know NIO's running GSX. What are you thinking?
Yeah, you actually just mentioned Tilray, and I'm actually, this actually just made me think about something kind of funny. These stocks might run because it's going to be April 20th tomorrow. And I'm not saying, the charts are looking pretty good, actually. It's bouncing off the 100 SMA. It's starting to run up. We're at 420 here, and we have Tilray. Let's go check out CGC. Yeah, CGC is even green today. Same setup off the 100 SMA as well. What's another one? What's another
We
one of
have
the big ones, Mike?
ACB.
Yeah,
ACB.
ACB, Aora. I used to trade this one quite a bit. It looks like it's getting close to its resistance around $8.30, but some of these stocks might really run up into tomorrow, and it's going to be a pretty good thing, I think. I really like Planet 13, which is PLNHF. Let's see. Yeah, they're even running today as well. So it looks like a lot of these marijuana stocks are going up into 420, but keep in mind, they might not go up tomorrow just because of that. It's kind of funny that we're seeing Tilray and some of these stocks really turn around as that day approaches. And on the daily chart, Tilray is actually holding this support right now, right around $16. So it's actually looking like possibly like a pretty good pickup here.
Sounds good. With the next question, we have Click saying, "Good job, guys. Do you think Tesla is going to fall below $700?" So let's take a look at it. Right now, it's sitting right around 706. It's definitely not looking too good right now. I remember, what was it, like last week actually, it really struggled to break above 700, but when it did, it just exploded. Was it on like Tuesday or Wednesday? So yeah, it really exploded. That 700 support is very significant, you can say. I'm going to try and run the probability test right now for this week on Tesla. We'll do probability of touching. So probability of touching Tesla at, let's say Tesla has, oh wow, Tesla actually has a 90% chance of touching $700 by this Friday. So that's according to the market makers. They have a 75% chance of touching $687 by this Friday. So, I definitely don't think I don't think it would be a surprise if we did break below 700, but it's definitely a pretty strong support.
Yeah, it's a really strong support, and the only way that I think we would break below it is if this bad news really kind of manifested into a really bad thing. And if that's the case, let's say tons of articles start coming out, Tesla car caused death, or Tesla car crashed, or we start seeing more crashes or more bad articles, or analysts kind of say that it's going to cause problems with Tesla or something like that, then I think that we're going to see it break below. But unless that happens, I think that it's going to hold it, because Tesla's a pretty good stock. It had a big run up to 780. Now we've pretty much gone straight down, all the way back down to 700. I personally think that we're going to hold it, but we'll just have to see how it moves. And whenever it gets closer to 700, I think we'll start to see what really happens.
Sounds good. With the next question, we have Jerry talking about the banks. So he said that the banks are ripping. Let's take a look at, like, let's say WF. Oh yeah, WFC actually broke Friday's high, which is good to see. Let's see, Bank of America's coming up a little bit. JP Morgan a little bit. Let's see the ETF XLF. Yeah, I mean, some of them are trying to run up. It looks like Wells Fargo is definitely the leader today, unless I'm missing one of them. USB maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's trying to run up a little bit, but WFC has definitely just been exploding over the past week. Looks like it's up around 10% in like the past couple days.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. Like all the other bank stocks, all the banks posted great earnings, which was strange. But then we actually saw like none of them really went up off the earnings. The only one that went up was Wells Fargo, but JP Morgan just kind of went flat to down. We can see that they reported right around 153 to 154, and that's like where they were at today. Bank of America, same story. They reported and took a pretty big dip actually, and now they're starting to try to come back up, but they need to pass above their resistance around 39.50. So we'll have to see what goes on there. But I will say it's just strange to see how Wells Fargo flew up off their earnings, but all the other banks kind of went down. And the big one, which is Goldman Sachs, they posted great earnings as well. They ended up going up, but it seems like Goldman is the leader in banks lately. Whenever we go to the max daily chart and we check out their EPS, it's insane to me that Goldman has an 18.6 EPS, and they used to have a 12.08 EPS, which is earnings per share, which is pretty much how they're calculating their earnings and how much money that they've calculated compared to their profits and stuff like that. And it's a pretty complicated thing, Mike. Maybe you can look it up, but I will say it's really grown over the past few years. 3.11 after COVID to 6.26 to 9.68 to 12.08 to 18.60. So it's looking like Goldman is having a ton of growth right now, which may have been expected, but their stock is showing it as well, moving all the way up to 356. And I just can't believe that we're seeing this out of a stock like Goldman Sachs.
Well, remember what was it, like a couple months ago, they reported like record trading revenue, and I was even looking at their last earnings report, and they had some pretty good numbers actually, like especially from their trading department. I remember we were talking about this one a couple of weeks ago with like their bond trading, or no, the fixed income trading. So, they're definitely a powerhouse in a lot of different aspects. Some people I know like to refer to them as like best in the business, and one of the best bank stocks. So I really like it. They're definitely a powerhouse. Then we have Jack asking about PG. So Procter and Gamble. This is one of those very slow moving stocks. It's 21% implied volatility, but they do have earnings very soon. So let's take a look at it. It's a very slow mover just due to the nature of this, of what type of stock it is. It's not like you're going to see some crazy growth out of Procter and Gamble or anything like that. It's just one of those slow and steady value stocks. It looks like it does have resistance right around 140, and then its next major support is like right around 130. And they do have earnings coming up, so I don't know. I don't see anything crazy here. Do you have like any ideas with this one?
Yeah, for like an intraday setup, I have a pretty good resistance here, or a pretty good support, I should say, down here at like 135.50, which we bounced off of this morning, and then we came back to the upside. If we can hold that, we might see another retest of maybe like 137, but I wouldn't expect it to keep going up too much. The daily chart is starting to look pretty bad, actually. It looks like it might start to dip back to the downside, but we'll just have to see what happens. It's actually been trading between a pretty good range, like you said, at like 138 and then between like 130. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But I will say though that it's, with how flat it's been and how it's been in this range, it has to break out one way or the other over the next couple weeks, I would say, for sure. So definitely watch out for it. It might be actually a pretty good straddle play if the options are priced right, and we can get enough movement out of it.
True. I mean, PG normally has some very well priced options, and normally it's a really good straddle candidate. Jack, if you are like looking to
we do have earnings actually tomorrow. Sorry.
Yep. But Jack, if you are looking to like maybe pick up shares, like you could always do like cash secured puts on setups like these. Normally the options pricing or the price of the options rise before earnings because everyone is expecting increased volatility. But I'll definitely have my eyes on it. It's just not a big mover just due to the nature of it being a value stock. And then we have, with the next question, we have Shane asking about Clove. So CLOV, I know that there was actually talks about a short squeeze on this one on Friday, and it started to just run up out of nowhere. It's really starting to explode, and it's starting to gain some momentum. Tom, can you like hit us like with the resistance level, supports, what to watch out for?
Yeah, there's definitely a pretty good resistance here around $11 to $10.80 to $11. I see a pretty good one. You can even say where it hit this morning around 10.50 is a good one as well. All the way back on, let's see here, December 17th of 2020, it hit that same exact level. So watch out for that today. It looks like it's starting to maybe come down now. Let's go to the 1 minute chart. Yeah, it is actually starting to dip back down. So watch out for it to break above this 1057 high of today. If it does that, then definitely watch out for like 1080 to 11, somewhere between there. I think there's a pretty good resistance coming up. So watch out. I personally think it might hit one of these resistances and then start to go flat or come back down. But it does look like it's starting to come up. And if there's talk of a short squeeze, that could be amazing. I mean, if like short squeezes, like look, we all know how GME went, we know how AMC went, and even Bed Bath and Beyond and BlackBerry. So some of these stocks have just been awesome to trade with these short squeezes. So if we see a good short squeeze coming on, obviously that'll be the play to get onto.
For sure. With the next question, we have Mason asking about our favorite weed stocks. So to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of any of them. Just like looking at their fundamentals. But if we're going off like technicals, I really like APHA and I really like CGC. CGC has some pretty liquid options, which I really like. Let me check APHA. Yeah, they're pretty liquid too. So those are my two favorite, just because of how they move and the pricing of their options. But in terms of like a fundamental standpoint, I'm not a huge fan of any of them. I think as that industry continues to grow, I'm sure we'll see a lot more bigger companies in that industry, you could say, come to the market. So I'll just be looking for new opportunities with them. They do have an MJ ETF, which is basically just an ETF of a bunch of different stocks in this industry. But I think that looks decent. But honestly, I'm just not like a huge fan of any of them, at least right now.
Yeah, I mean, it looks. I personally, I honestly kind of like them right now. It looks like they're coming off of the supports pretty well. The one that I like honestly the most is the one that you said, APHA. It actually has a really good support here around $14, which we're bouncing off of, and we're coming to the upside. We're also sitting on this 100 SMA, which I think it could be a pretty good buying opportunity, especially over the next couple days. With it being 420 or whatever, it might bring some volatility in here to get a pretty good pop. So I'm definitely going to be watching them. Definitely watch out for APHA. My favorite one is PLNHF. I don't think you can go wrong with this one. This one's Planet 13, which they have a pretty big dispensary in Las Vegas, and it's like the biggest dispensary in the United States, and like they call it the Costco of the dispensary world or something like that. And it's pretty strange, but definitely watch out. It has highs at 867 and we're at 671 right now. So it's honestly not too bad of a buy, and they're a great company. You can see that they actually are pretty close to being profitable, which is good. They were slightly negative, but it's one of those things where whenever this finally does get legalized, they will grow and they'll open up a lot more locations in different states. But right now they're just kind of like in Nevada.
Gotcha. If we look at Tesla, Tom, it broke below that 700 support level. It's not a good sign at
Ooh.
all. It looks like implied volatility is rising. I'm looking at some of the premiums on these puts. Oh, wow. I mean, some of these weekly puts are up 300, 400%. So this is definitely not a good sign. It looks like it's falling pretty fast. Do you have any next support levels or anything like that?
Yeah, this is actually pretty bad to see. I mean, man, we're running below 695 now as well. Let's go to the 180-day 15-minute. Yeah, we're running down. Watch out for another support here at 690. I think the 690 is going to be a pretty good spot. We've hit off of that one quite a few times. We're also getting really close to that 1000 SMA, which it's hit off of a couple times in the past also, and then popped or kind of went down below it. So watch out for that. I think that 690 or like 689 is going to be a pretty good level for it. And we're about $4, $5 off from that. So let's just go back to the 1 minute and see how this ends up playing out. It looks like a pretty good move to the downside right now. So hopefully it can keep going down and hit that 690 bottom, because I'm sure people are getting into the puts right now. That's for sure.
For sure. And then even if we just look at like the S&P 500, like the SPY, that's starting to come down. If we look at GSX, that fell below the 26 support level. Not a good sign. It is extremely volatile. Like if we look at Tesla, their implied volatility is around 80%. GSX implied volatility is over 200%. So it's a lot more volatile than Tesla. It's still very close to that support, which is good to see, but it's still not a good sign that it fell below it. We do have a good amount of selling pressure in the market right now. I'm trying to see how correlated GSX is. Yeah, so the GSX isn't really correlated at all to the market. So if the market does fall, it's not like it's going to have like a major influence on GSX. But either way, it's definitely not a good sign that it fell below that 26 support level. With the next question, we have Chuck. Oh no, we have Chris saying asking about Uber. So let's take a look at Uber. It's actually falling a good amount right now. If we look, yeah, it's falling a good amount intraday. We have resistance right around $60, support right around 52. It looks like it is at the top of that channel, and it's definitely not looking too strong right now.
Yeah, on this daily chart, man, there's a pretty good channel here. There's a high right around $61, and it's starting to really come down below off of that. Definitely watch out for this one to the downside. Unfortunately, it's like quadruple topped up here around 60 to 64. So watch out. It's looking like a pretty good play to the downside, in my opinion, especially intraday. Like you said, we're really starting to break below the bottom of today. And if we break below that like 59.10 level, I think we're going to see a pretty good run, obviously down to like 59 or even lower than that. It's just looking like a really bad move, unfortunately. And there we go, broke below all the way down now to 58.90, 58.96 right now. So pretty good moves to the downside off of Uber. Man, hopefully he was playing this. I really like the technicals off the 100 SMA as well this morning to the downside. It looks like a great play, man. It came below all the SMAs as well. And this is just a setup you'd love to see. Too bad we couldn't see it a couple minutes earlier, but it would have been a great thing to get into.
Sounds good. And then we have, let's see, we have Chuck saying, you guys sound like you've been doing live streaming for years. Well done. Well, thank you for that. This is our first stream. Well, really, thank you guys so much all for coming out here. We really appreciate it. You know, it is our first stream, so if there are a couple technical difficulties or something like that, we apologize for it. But thank you guys so much for coming out. Then we have Jack asking about Zoom. So, Tom, I really like this one for the long term at these levels. I know ARK Invest has been buying a lot into this company over the past couple of weeks, which is great to see in my opinion, but I just like the levels it's at right now. I think over the next year or two, it'll have a lot of I think it'll definitely rebound coming back up. They do have a pretty strong resistance right around 350, but once we break that, the next major resistance isn't until 400, and that's a pretty nice spread.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a pretty good spread. Like you said, I really love it how it's off of these supports down here at the bottom. So it's going to look pretty good. I really like how the movement is starting to go back to the upside here. I think it might be good for calls, actually, if we get some and hold them even over the next couple of weeks. But the best way to play this, I think, is definitely cash secured puts or just getting shares. Like you said, averaging into shares on this is definitely a smart way to go as well. I really like the pricing on it. It has highs at 588. So if it goes up and retests highs, that's tremendous growth. I personally, if I got it, I'd be watching for it to come back up to 450, and I would definitely take some profits there. Maybe unload half the position at 450 when it hits that. But I do love this for the long term. I think that this big dip to the downside was just unfortunate for Zoom. I think that they had too much hype on the run up, and it caused them to obviously come back down whenever COVID kind of evened things back out. But I think that now we're going to see it start to come back up with them innovating and just launching more stuff with their platform. And I've seen a lot of people use Zoom as well, so they're definitely doing pretty good with it. And the way that they monetize their system is pretty nice as well.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, we're on Zoom right now.
Yeah, we're using Zoom, so they're definitely, they're definitely a company that we use and we like. So for the longer term, I think they're going to be great. I really like their system as well. It works pretty good, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. And, I know that some people say that, when COVID calms down, not too many people are going to be using Zoom. And I think that no matter what, this company is going to find a way to adapt. And I think that with everything that happened last year with COVID, I know a lot more companies are shifting to that work from home model, and that'll definitely benefit Zoom. So I feel like no matter what, Zoom is in a good position, especially with everything that happened last year. And I think that they're always going to find a way to adapt.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually just got a little update from TradeStation, which is pretty funny. And they said that the last day for the following contract for May 21st, NYMEX crude oil futures are going to be physically deliverable, so that people are going to possibly get some oil. And it says it gave me an update and said to make sure to roll or offset your position immediately. And that's pretty funny. Could you imagine getting a whole shipment of oil to your house?
Yeah, I know that's how those. Yeah, I just know. I definitely know what you mean with futures being physically deliverable. But if we look at Snapchat, it looks like it's starting to break down. It's down around 3.5% right now. They do have earnings pretty soon. Let's take a look at the S&P 500. Looks like that's starting to come down a little bit. If we look at GSX, it was back up. It was right above that resistance level at $26. Looks like it's just lingering right around 26 right now. If we take a look at Tesla, starting to come down a little bit. It's still below that 700 support level, which is not good to see. If we take a look at GME, this one's going back and forth, extremely volatile. Let's take a look at KO. It's doing nothing really. So looks like the market was pulling back for a little bit, but looks like we are bouncing back up right now. Do you have any like top stocks you're watching? Any stocks you were interested in? What are you thinking?
Yeah, like how's Peloton doing? It actually hit off support down here around like 108 and started to come back up this morning, but it looks like we are coming back to the downside right now. I figured it might pop back up because we had such a gap down that I just figured that we might see a little bit of green on the stock, which we did. And right now we're testing this 100 SMA and the 200 as well. So definitely watch out for Peloton here. We might see another break back down to like 107, or we're going to see possibly a retest of highs today at 112, and that's going to be a pretty big move. We're like 109 right now, so that'll be like a $3 move to the upside or a $2 move to the downside. And I think that there'd be a pretty good opportunity to play something off of this if you saw a pretty good move one way or the other off of Peloton, just given the news and stuff that's going on as well. It shot that implied volatility up this morning up to 77%. So it's just looking pretty volatile as well.
Sounds good. And then guys, like if you guys want us to cover certain stocks, just let us know. We'll be here for a little bit. So just comment, what stocks you're watching. We'll definitely take a look at them. We have Muscle saying Nvidia's down around 2% due to ARM news. The UK is trying to block it, but it's just requests for more information. Traders regarding reading too much into it. The threat of the ARM deal not happening already baked into the price. So let's take a look at it. Looks like it's coming back down a little bit. They were such a powerhouse last week. Like they just kept exploding every single day, but they could not break above that 650 resistance. Tom, do you see any like patterns or support levels or anything on this one?
Yeah, I'm really seeing a good support here at like 612.50 to 613. I'm really liking it off of that. Like he said, there was some bad news this morning. I saw this actually out of the UK. I didn't read too much into it. It sounds like a good thing I didn't read into it. Like he said, traders are reading too much into it. But I personally think it's not too big of a deal for NVIDIA. It obviously is going to hurt them, though, just because of the news. And a lot of people get scared of that. Like he said, a lot of people read too much into it, in my opinion. And so you just have to watch out for that. But it did have a good dip here. It retested this 629 support and then, or 629 resistance, I should say now. And now it's coming back to the downside. I think we might see a continuation move back down actually out of NVIDIA. They just had that good CPU news and they just went straight up for pretty much, what is this, 10 green days in a row just about. And now I think they're going to be in for a little bit of a dip here. Definitely watch for them to hit off of 613. I think that would be a pretty safe area to the downside. I don't see them really going up right now with this news out. But I will say, though, that the company it's a great company, and it definitely deserves to be up here in the $600 range. But it's just an unfortunate thing to see that news happen. And I would definitely watch for it to hit that support around 613 to 615.
Good stuff. And then we have Mason saying, what do you guys think about cruise line stocks? Any hope? So we have CCL, RCL, NCLH. Those are the main three. I like them, but they're just like they're in a tough position. I know that, what was it last week, Tom? What was it? The Florida governor was like suing someone about like the cruise line stocks, or there was some catalyst regarding that. So I'm not sure what ended up happening with that lawsuit, but that could be good for some of these cruise line stocks if they are allowed to, resume their business as normal. If we take a look at their charts, it looks like they have resistance right around $30, and they are, or at least CCL is in an ascending triangle pattern for like the past month or so. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think that it looks like that these cruise stocks are starting to like triple top and all double top here. CCL has a pretty good resistance here around $30, which has hit off of around 3 times now, and it's starting to come back to the downside. The earnings still aren't very good. I remember the governor sued the CDC, and they wanted to be treated like the airlines, to where they'd be allowed to actually depart cruises from the United States and be able to do things like the airlines are allowed to. They're allowed to have full capacity flights, and they're allowed to go flying and stuff like that. I think that it's a big deal for the cruise lines actually to start that again. That they're losing out on a ton of profits, and it looks like that they might actually take a dip. They had a pretty big. They got hurt by COVID pretty bad. The cruise lines and the airlines were some of the worst industries to have during this time, unfortunately. And we can see CCL went from 50 all the way down to around $10. It went a little lower, even around maybe 7.50. But we'll just say $10 because it double bottomed around that. But $10 now it's at around 27. So it's already went up over 100% from the bottom, and we need to keep that in mind because it's definitely going to have some swings, probably back to the downside now. Maybe like a 10 to 25% swing, maybe back to the downside before we start to see it really come back up and retest $35 and then finally get back up to 45. And it's going to take a long time because we're going to need the US to fully reopen. They're going to have to somehow win that lawsuit, or they're just going to, the CDC is just going to have to start allowing it. And that's going to be the main thing, is once we see that news come out, that's going to be the big deal. But I think until that happens, I don't think that these cruise lines are going to break above these solid resistances that they've posted over the past couple weeks.
Sounds good. And then we have Hunter saying, not stock related, but I'm making breakfast. So hit us with your go-to breakfast. So I would have to say mine's probably Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I feel like you can't go wrong with it. It's probably my favorite cereal. What about you?
Yeah, I actually don't eat breakfast too much, but I drink definitely a lot of protein shakes. So I normally have a protein shake for breakfast. And then I started out with a Mountain Dew Kickstart as well, usually. I love those. But that's not my main breakfast. If I could choose a good breakfast every day, I would definitely get some eggs and bacon. That's my go-to. But I can't, I don't have the time to cook that in the morning. And I just grab the protein shake and just go with that.
There we go. So let's take a look at some of the stock movement this morning. So if we go to some intraday charts, let's take a look at GSX again. Looks like it was bouncing right around that 26 support level, but now it's coming right below that. Again, it is a very volatile stock, but it's not really correlated to the market at all. So it just kind of does its own thing. Like I said, like 3 or 4 times already, someone put about a couple $1 million into calls for this one. So I do like it for a bounce. If we look at like the hourly chart, it looks pretty good. They are definitely pulling back right now, though. They're extremely volatile, so I like it. It's just very risky. Another one we take a look at is like Snapchat. Looks like that one is breaking down. Let's take a look at like Peloton. That one's getting pretty close to support. Let's take a look at Apple. Yeah, that one's pulling back a little bit. So looks like the market's just kind of consolidating a little bit. We have the SPY bouncing back up after that fall. Target, what's Target doing? Oh, wow, Target's actually breaking all-time highs. Look at that.
Yeah, there we go. Targets just keeps running and running. It just broke out above 210.50, which is awesome. 210.82 now. Man, Target has just been on fire. If we go to that max daily chart, Target, Home Depot, and just a couple of these like retails, like safe stocks like Caterpillar and stuff, they've just went like straight up over the past couple months. And it's just awesome to see Target here breaking this all-time high once again. I can't believe how well Target's done. Actually, they've definitely like outdone Walmart over the past couple months, I would say. Let's go to Walmart's chart. Yeah, you can see Walmart's one of those stocks that's just been lagging behind, and they actually had a pretty bad couple months a couple months ago when they gapped down from 145 going all the way down to 125. So it looks like as of right now, Target's definitely winning the battle of the stocks.
Yeah, well, you can't forget about Home Depot. I was trying to buy puts on this one like a couple weeks ago and got stopped out. This thing literally only goes up every single day. Like, I think we're on, I don't even know how many green days in a row, but literally this thing is just up every single day. We even have implied volatility rising. This thing is just crazy. Like, it just keeps going up and up and up and up. So, I mean, I would think there would be a pullback soon, but no one can call the top, but it's just, it's such a tough trade. Like, it has so much like momentum to the upside, and it's just like nice, slow and steady, but it's just consistently up every single day.
Yeah, for sure. And it actually just hit all-time highs right now on that 1 minute chart as well. So it's definitely moving. We're gonna have to see how it goes. Let's see if it can break above this all-time high. It looks like it's starting to post a red candle, but we'll have to see how it goes. It might be a double top. It actually only broke by about 10 to 20 cents. So it's not like it really shot up like 5% over the resistance or anything like that. It looks like that we just barely broke. So we'll have to see how it moves intraday. It looks like it's moving pretty slow, like it normally does. I would have kind of expected it to hit that and then get a little bit volatile off of that, like kind of break above it or come back down pretty good. But it didn't move too much. It's kind of just going flat right now.
Yep. And then with the next question, we have Umar saying, "Can you guys take a look at JMIA and Open? Do you think they will drop even more?" So let's take a look at JMIA. It's definitely not looking good. I know we talked about this one a little bit earlier in the stream. It has a major support at $30. So if we can break below that, I would definitely think it could fall more on that breakdown. It's getting pretty close. So just watch out for that 30 support. And then he said Open too, OPEN. Oh, this one's actually coming right down to support as well. It's sitting right around, so we have support right around 17.50, and we have another support right around a little over $15. So they're definitely both pretty good breakdown candidates. You just got to make sure that they break below that support.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I really like it to the downside actually with Open and JMIA. It doesn't look like they're doing too well right now, unfortunately. If we go to that max daily chart, especially on Open, at least they're getting close to some of those really solid supports. Hopefully it can hit one of those and start to go back up. Unfortunately, this stock has just gotten destroyed over the past couple months. JMIA the same way. I mean, it's down a lot. JMIA though, I think this one's a little bit better for the long term, in my opinion, just given what they do. They're like an e-commerce website in Africa, and they say that it's like the African version of Amazon. So that's a really good thing, actually, if the stock can kind of hold its levels. And as long as obviously if e-commerce starts booming in Africa, then JMIA is going to do amazing. But I think it's just a pretty good stock for the longer term, given what they do with e-commerce and stuff like that, and also given their price. But they have had a lot of growth this year, and this is the thing. I remember people kept saying JMIA was going to hit $200 whenever it was at $60 because they kept thinking it was going to be like Amazon, you know. But the thing is, guys, is that whenever these stocks go from $2.15 up to $70, you have to expect these huge pullbacks like this. And it pulled back over 50%. It fell below $35 all the way down to like $30.40 now.
Sounds good. I was actually just going to point that out. Like, even though the sector is amazing, you know, at the end of the day, when a stock goes from $3.46, or like Tom said, $2.15, all the way up to basically $70 in, what is that, like a year or so, little under a year, a little over a year, there has to be some pullback. It's even like with NIO, that stock literally exploded, and now it's kind of pulling back. So, and I actually see a very similar setup with Zoom. It just exploded over the past year, and now it's starting to pull back. I really like the setup. Like, in my opinion, if you can dip by some of these stocks that are in amazing sectors and that, you know, maybe were a little overvalued a couple months ago, but now they're, you know, fair valued or at least undervalued, I think that can be great for the long term. That's kind of what I'm doing with Zoom right now. NIO is a very, very similar setup. So I really like the setup you're looking for. Then we have, let's see, then we have Click talking about CHPT. So let's take a look at it. It's definitely not looking too good. It's down around just under 3%. It looks like there is a pretty strong support right around $20. Looks like it hit that like 3 or 4 times already. So that can be a good dip buy. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know what this stock does, but it says it's called Charge Point Holdings. So it sounds like a pretty interesting setup here.
They're
Let me
EV
go ahead and
chargers.
they do what?
EV charging. So for all the electric vehicles, they're one of the charging stations.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that might do actually pretty good actually over the next couple of years, especially with that infrastructure plan. They said that they really plan on trying to integrate the EV sector, especially with the charging stations and stuff. And I personally think that's awesome. We see a ton of stuff with charging stations. Obviously, Tesla has some charging stations, and there's a lot of other car companies now that are going to need charging stations just like that. And what we look at a lot of these companies like like Mercedes and Ford and Chevy, and they're all coming out with these electric vehicles. But the thing is there's not a lot of charging stations. Like there's all these Tesla supercharging stations where you can park your Tesla and charge half your battery in like 20 or 30 minutes, and that's a really good deal. I think some of them even do the full battery now in like 45 minutes. So it's getting pretty fast, and I think that's going to be the big thing going forward is integrating those charging stations, because as of right now, I think like everybody's main concern is like, well, look, what happens if I need to go 500 miles, or if I need to go 200 miles there and 200 miles back, and my car only goes 320 miles, and there's no charging stations between, like it might be in a rural area, somewhere where there's not a whole bunch of integration like that. So there's just a whole bunch of different factors there, and I think that it will definitely help this stock in the long run. And given how much that some of these stocks like this and a lot of the other EV charging stocks have dipped, it's definitely going to be a good buy, I think, for the future. And you see some of these companies like ARC, for example, like Kathy Wood buying up all these dips, and I think that shows that's a pretty good sign, showing that there's still a lot of strength going forward in the market and in a lot of these stocks.
Yeah, let's take a look at Peloton. Oh wow, this does not look good at all. Looks like we are coming very close to support
Oh
right
wow.
around 107. This is not looking good at all. If we look at that daily chart, it definitely looks a little scary. So definitely be careful with Peloton right here. Might be good for like a quick put day trade too.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. I mean, it looks really good. It's hitting that 107 support like right now. Well, we're gonna have to see how that breaks below. Looks like a very good play on that daily chart, like you said. It looks so bad, unfortunately. I was really expecting Peloton to possibly recover back to the upside, but man, this bad news was just very unfortunate for him.
Yep. And then we have Darude saying, Mike, I remember talking to you about he said, Darude said, Mike, I remember talking to you about going live about a year ago. So happy for you guys. Well, what do you think about Palantir in the next few weeks? Well, thank you so much for that. And yeah, we're very excited to start live streaming. There might be a couple technical errors here and there, but we'll definitely work through it. And we really appreciate you showing up. So let's take a look at Palantir, Tom. I know that they had that demo day last week, and they actually kind of fell off of it. They're coming right down to that like $21 support, which is a good sign. It really hasn't been moving too much over like the past couple weeks, you can say, besides that demo day, but I like it for the long term. And Palantir is also another one of those stocks that are good for cash secured puts. You can normally get some pretty nice premiums on them relative to their stock price.
Yeah, I actually really like the way Peloton's been moving to the downside. It's been moving below these supports pretty well, and this morning in pre-market, it had a pretty good confirmation there off of that like 2275 level, which is just posed. You can see it hit it right here last. Let's see, not last Thursday, but a couple Thursdays ago, and then it hit it last Monday, and then it also hit it last Thursday once again. So there's just been a ton of levels or a ton of movement off of that level, and today it finally fell below that, and we saw the stock really start to fall down a couple percent. And personally, on the daily, it's not looking good. It looks like we might come back down to that $20 support, I think.
Interesting. And then we have Raphael saying GME is looking good. Uh-oh, Tom. We all know how this normally ends. GME's starting to run. It actually broke right above the pre-market high of right around 174. It actually hit highs of 175 today. It's starting to run. It actually looks pretty good. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, it really does actually. It's starting to really run. If it breaks 175.20 to the upside today, which it really looks like it's going to, then it's going to be a pretty good move. And even on the daily chart, it's starting to come back up. We saw it really start to, it did another run back up towards 350 after that big fall. It fell all the way back down to like 50, and everyone I think thought it was done, but it's starting to actually pop again. And it honestly looks like we might come back up and retest possibly $200 this week. And
Yeah.
if we do, that's going to be a great thing for a lot of people. I know a lot of people love to trade GameStop, and especially on the on a day trading level, I think it's a great thing to do, especially with options. If you can catch it on the right type of run, it's great. But keep in mind, you just have to manage your risk well with this one, because it definitely reverses direction very quickly.
Yep, let's take a look at GSX. So it looks like it's still pulling back. It still is above that 25 support level, which is great to see, but it couldn't hold above 26. So let's definitely not a good sign either. It's just in the middle of its range. It's kind of like fighting to stay up. Like it's not just tanking. Right now it's down around 0.24% on the day. So it's not really doing anything. I like it. I don't love it. It's definitely a risky setup, but it's not really doing anything right now.
Yeah, there's not really a lot of movement on a GSX right now. It looks like it was going down. I think it still looks like a pretty good setup though to the upside. And whenever we look at the daily chart, especially, it looks pretty good. So there's going to be a lot of movement intraday, obviously. So just keep that in mind that we might come back down and retest 25 again, but it does still look like it's going to hold this, and it looks pretty good still.
All right, with the next question, we have Tyler saying, does PayPal look bearish or double bottom? So let's take a look at it. If we go to the daily, so he's probably asking about it for like a day trade. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it looks like it's going to actually maybe break this support here around 266. And it's actually right at that level, like 265.99 right now. So really watch for that. If it breaks below that, watch for it to hit 265, which was the low of this morning. Personally, I was looking at PayPal back to the upside, but like he pointed out, it is actually hitting this resistance here, like 277 to 280, and it's starting to come back down. So watch out for it. I was hoping it would break back to the upside and retest all-time highs around 310, or even to hit 300 would have been a pretty good goal, but it looks like it failed to do that. So watch for it to come back down to possibly 260 or even 255, unfortunately. And I really like the movement, honestly, on the intraday chart. If we can continue to see this stock break down, especially below 265, it would be amazing.
For sure. Well, let's take a look at Peloton one more time. I see that it's actually breaking below 107. It's at its low of day right now.
There we go.
So yeah, I mean, it's definitely not looking good. It looks like we can definitely see a continuation out of this one. Tom, do you have any like major stocks you're looking at for the rest of the day, or like anything for the rest of the day?
Yeah, I mean, really, the big one to me is just watching the SPY all day today. It looks like it had a pretty big dip this morning, which is kind of a scary thing to see. It came right below the 1,000 SMA as well. This is a pretty bearish sign for me on the SPY. If we go to the max daily chart, SPY is really getting overextended. We're right around that 420 level on SPY, and tomorrow's 420 as well. So I'm going to be watching SPY, and I'm going to be watching those marijuana stocks as well, like CGC, TLRY. They were running earlier this morning. Let's go check it out. TLRY did pull back quite a bit, actually. So it might not be a runner tomorrow. We'll just have to see how it ends up playing out. But it's definitely a good thing to watch with those marijuana stocks. And then the SPY. The SPY to me is my favorite stock to watch, obviously. It's a huge indice. It has a ton of impact on the market as well. And whenever it falls below these SMAs like this, especially the 1,000 SMA, and whenever it does it the way it did today, particularly opening below it and then going up, hitting it, confirming it, and then coming down, it just shows me that it's going to be pretty bearish. And I personally don't see this one coming back up and hitting 417 or anything like that today. If anything, it might retest like 416 or 416.50, I think. But I don't see the SPY hitting all-time highs again tomorrow. I personally think that we might see this be flat or down. And it's just going to be, I think, one of those times where the SPY starts to really consolidate here over the next couple of days. And we're seeing tons of earnings come out. We're seeing Tesla go down. We're seeing a lot of these stocks go down too. So I think a lot of people are just getting scared with the market.
Sounds good. Well, really, thank you guys so much for coming out to Tom and I's first live stream. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for, showing up, asking questions. We had a really good time, and we'll be live again tomorrow, right before market open. So I really thank you guys so much for showing up. We really appreciate it. It would really help us out if you could share the stream like Muscle Cars just did. He said he just shared the live stream. So thank you guys. Literally, thank you so much. For showing up. We really appreciate it. We're definitely going to continue to improve. And, this is our first one, and we think it went pretty well, but we're always going to keep improving. So thank you guys so much for coming out, and thanks for watching.